So, let's go ahead and talk about gambling. Now, this one comes very recent to us because we were just in Las Vegas, actually, a couple of weeks ago. So, you want to talk about your experience there?
Man, where to start with this? Okay, so question on gambling. You can do worse things with your life. But I did see, this is the second time going there. And both times have been for visiting my father. And this last time, unfortunately, is when he passed away. But my eyes were open to something on this visit that I hadn't seen the last visit. The last visit, it seemed like, casinos, it wasn't the typical feel for walking into a casino than it was almost like, is this it? Is this all it is? I saw a bunch of electronic slot machines set up with older ladies sitting there and just feeding it quarters and smoking a cigarette or whatever, and walking by, and I didn't at that point see any card tables or any roulette tables, and not the kind of image that you usually see on Hollywood films. And I thought, oh, well, it's almost like an old arcade when I was a kid, just walking through and popping some quarters and playing a game. No big deal. But this time it was a little bit different because in the light of my father's death, I saw it a little bit differently. He had spent a lot of time playing the slots. And the friends that he was hanging out with did too. And I discovered that there was a lot of time that was just being poured into this, and a lot of money that was ended up going. And even in those little penny slot machines, they're psychologically rigged for you to sit there and lose money. I mean, let's face it. If they weren't making money, then they wouldn't be setting up the machines. Question is, how fast is that going and how much you're doing? And I heard someone justify that, well, it's just entertainment, just like you would go out in the movies and spend $20 or whatever on watching movies with the family. How much, take $20 and just go do this and spend just as much time. So I want to put that out as a question to you guys. That's I'm out there in Vegas or wherever. This is actually a smaller place called Mesquite, which is closer to the Arizona border. But I'm in there in a casino, and I'm just spending my money. The food's cheap, There's a little entertainment on the side. They got games with sports and stuff that are going on. And I'm just feeding this money in. It's no big deal. It's just a game.
Well, I'd say that there's a couple of differences, definitely, when it comes to either video games or going to the movies. Both of those are set. The movies primarily are set amount of time that you'll be there, as well as a set amount of money that you'll be spending on this. Everything there is oriented at getting you to play longer, be there longer, lose track of time. At the casinos that we were at, the windows were tinted, so you couldn't really tell what time of day it is out there. There are no clocks. You're allowed to smoke in there, so you don't go and take smoke breaks outside and realize how late it actually is. And at the same time, they're overloading just your sight, your smell, the sounds around you are just overloading your senses into where you can spend hours and hours on this and not realize what you're doing. Movies would be different in the aspect that there's a set amount of time that you're watching. Now you could go watch another movie, but they're at a set amount.
Yeah, one of the differences between that is it's actually keyed to an endorphin hit in playing the slots. And when you see a movie, there is you go for an emotional experience, but it's not the same. When you get this endorphin hit and going in and going in and going in more, and you can't really calculate well what the odds are. I mean, if it was like 1 in 10, okay, we can wrap our minds around that. 1 out of 100, maybe we can. But when it starts to get to astronomical numbers like winning the lottery, we can't really. Our minds can't really conceive of what those odds are. You might as well just take your money and throw it up in the air as you're driving down the freeway, because you're not going to see it again. So there is that psychological hit. I'm not doing a very good job playing devil's advocate.
No, you're not. There are two different ways of experiencing entertainment. Either it's a proactive, you're engaged in it, you're part of it, or it's a passive. When it comes to movies, that would definitely be passive. You're sitting there watching. You maybe get pulled in, might care about the characters, but for the most part, it's passive. You're just sitting there. Video games as well as gambling, both are active. You're both in there. You're both fighting for it. In many video games, you're fighting to try to achieve something. In gambling, you're risking something in order to try to achieve a win.
So, okay, let me throw this at you, Abby. So it's a risk. I mean, how many other things in life do we do that are a risk? I mean, we take a chance. A stock market. I mean, what's the difference between playing slots and the stock market? I mean, it's all a gamble. You don't know whether you're going to win or lose. It could crash next week and it'll all be gone. At least this way you can have fun doing it.
Well, in my mind, the thing it really comes down to is return on investment. I mean, when you're investing in stocks and things like that, you're doing it for the point of, it is a risk, it is a gamble, so to speak, but the goal of it is to invest your money in something wise, to be a good steward, and to hopefully get, return on investment. And when you're talking about the games, the slot machines and such, pretty much going in there that that's not going to happen. Maybe one of the, 1,000 people that go in there is going to end up with some good money. Whether or not that's better money than they started off with is questionable even then. But with the stock market, you can go in beforehand and you can see, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is what my risk is. So far it's going up, so far it's going down, whatever the case may be. You're able to make a wiser decision, and it's not for the sake of entertainment.
Okay, and if you're putting it in stocks, hopefully it's in a company that's going to do something positive with it. And say you're investing in, I don't know, a new airline or something that's, okay, now they're providing transportation for people. But when you invest in the slot machines, the people who are going to receive the money, who are they? What are they really involved with? You don't know.
Yeah. And you're really feeding that, just as, like, you might think, well, it's just this one game, and if you're that one person who can actually keep it to, one game, you're still putting that investment back into promoting it for every other person who's there who's definitely not one game. It's more and more and more and more. And unlike a movie or a video game where you get that, oh yeah, they made it through that hardship, or oh yeah, like I scored this great score in this game. You're constantly having that negative emotion of, oh, I lost again.
Well, there are some similarities between slot machine psychology and video games. There's a lot of endorphin hits that you would get with that as well. So, but one of the differences here is that you are losing time on both of them, video games and playing the slots. I'm not talking about the card games because it's a little bit different, but at least in these slots you are losing it, or in the lottery. But here you're also losing money with it as well. So it's time and money that are both shot.
And I guess the other part of that is just the pure addiction of it. Being addicted to being able to make that one win out of 1,000.
Yeah.
To get that one hit and then you're hooked. Or the addiction of just wanting to get at least something out of it. And you can get that out of video games the same.
Yeah.
You really can.
Just one more game.
Just one more game. Just one good game.
Just one good game.
You can get that just the same. But on one hand, you are basically wasting your money or wasting your time. you're doing the same with video games. I guess the question is, what are you doing while you're doing it?